Hello, Solfate listeners. Welcome back to another episode of the Solfate Podcast, where we talk with founders and builders in the Solana ecosystem, and sometimes just crypto more broadly, not always Solana. We had a good one today, Nick.
It's always a good one.
I mean, it is. And I'm usually the one
is he
that
your
you're
new
making
favorite
fun of
person
for that. Siong was awesome. I'm not going to lie.
Siong is awesome.
I'm not
the Jupiter team, Mercurial.
Can I confess something?
They're so amazing. Yeah, please tell me. Confess to our listeners, James.
Yeah. This is the most embarrassing thing. I probably shouldn't even say this publicly. Sometimes, everyone's got like PFPs that you like where you don't know what they look like or whatever. And sometimes those PFPs are like cool degen PFPs, but they're intimidating. And Siong is one of those, right? Where I was like, I don't know what to expect out of this guy. I've never seen him before in my life. I've never met him. And he was so fun and pleasant and just like,
oh yeah,
which was awesome, which I knew intellectually that was probably the case. I was not expecting it to be like an intimidating conversation, but you just never know. And Jupiter is like this massive protocol. And so you just don't know is this like a super intense, focused guy, or is this like a fun guy who's also a great engineer and great like product mind, and it's
fun,
it's
fun guy,
all of
great
the above,
product mind.
But we got to see the fun
animals
guy
over there at the team, raccoons, cats.
Yeah, exactly. It's like nothing intimidating about it at all, except that they are doing great. They're doing a great job. And if you're intimidated
all of their
by
products
that,
are just so amazing. Like, who doesn't use Jupiter? Like, let's be honest. Like, you use Jupiter, whether you know it or not. There's a very high chance that you're using Jupiter in your wallets.
Almost 100% chance. Like it's So
so good.
I mean, look, this is getting off the rails here, but as far as introducing the episode, it was pretty awesome. It's Siong, co-founder of Jupiter, and I don't think Jupiter needs much of an introduction, but it is an aggregator for swaps, right? So whether you're swapping inside your wallet or going to some other site, it's probably using Jupiter behind the scenes.
JUP.ag.
JUP.ag, if you're like me and you just go to the site directly and do your swaps.
Was that intentional rhyme? JUP.ag, if you're like me. We should get t-shirts.
That we should. I didn't. That wasn't intentional, but it's great. Anyway, it was a great convo. You guys should listen. They're doing awesome work over there, and I do think sometimes we take for granted things like Jupiter that have been around for a while and we just use all the time, and you don't realize like the work that goes into it, right? The size of team,
so much work,
the effort,
very
to
small
make sure
team,
that
so much work,
the effort to make sure that it scales,
shipping.
It's just like the routing engine that they have is fucking amazing, and
second to none.
It is, and it's just like it's. When you stop and think about it, you realize, that there's a ton that goes into this, but sometimes it's easy to overlook that. So listen and hear all the cool things that they've been doing over there.
Yeah. One of the coolest things that I learned, like I did not know this, was that the first version of Jupiter, it was entirely all front end. Like if you're a developer, you'll appreciate that statement. Their entire swap, everything was only JavaScript, only front end. And it wasn't until like the second version, many months in, where they're like, oh, maybe we should do an on-chain program to do this. They switched over to this on-chain program, which they wrote in, I think he said 2 or 3 months, something like that. They reduced their RPC costs by from $10,000 to $4,000. That's a pretty significant cost. Plus it was already way faster going that way. And like developer to developer, that is amazing. I love that.
Crazy stuff. It's way cool. And I mean, there's more where that came from. He talks about a couple other optimizations, JavaScript to Rust, that sort of stuff. It's pretty dope.
Python to Rust.
Python piping
wild.
into Rust, like dynamic. Anyway,
testing everything
cool.
in Python, and then okay, we're satisfied with the algorithm.
Cool
let's write
stuff.
it in Rust to be fast.
Let's just say.
Let's get to it.
Let's just jump in, everyone. It's a good one.
Nothing in this podcast is or should be considered financial advice. Any opinions and thoughts expressed are solely those of the individual. They do not represent the opinions of any entity. Enjoy. I mean, you
Lots
guys
of-
at Jupiter would know a thing or two about routing engines within DeFi. So.
I mean, our volume compared to like Binance, it's like, it's still not there yet. One day, hopefully one day we'll get there. Even better than that.
Oh, you guys are doing awesome work. I mean, maybe that's a great segue to let's just like jump into some of this stuff. I always love to start off with like some history. It's like, I'm very interested in what people are building now, but I'm also fascinated by like how they got there. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you don't mind, I know we were just chatting a little bit about you, like going to school in the US and working in Silicon Valley and stuff. Maybe you can tell us sort of when you got into crypto and, at what point you were into Solana and sort of, I don't know, what was the path to Jupiter?
I mean, I was pretty lucky, right? Back when I was in school, it was like between 2008 and 2012. So at that point, I think the Bitcoin paper came out around like 2009, 2010. So as a college student, computer science major, like, that's what everyone was talking about, right? Like, wow, there's like this cool paper that's talking about cryptocurrency, it's like based on this like computer science ideas and all this thing, right? So I was like, oh, like, yeah, like it's pretty cool. I was telling my friends about it and all this thing, right? I remember like people talking about it, like I was like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. I started doing some mining on my computer, but too bad that I lost my hard disk and everything. So like nothing was there.
Hasn't?
Yeah. So I started doing some like mining on some other machine as well, but like no one really care about it. The only legit use case, like, back then was like, like you're in college, if you want to get something, you can get it from like all this dark marketplace. That was the only thing that I used it for. And the fun thing about it is that like every time, like I remember like every time, like I sent some like Bitcoin into like some of this like dark marketplace, to buy something, whatever. I would have like, after I do like a purchase, I'll have like something left in the wallet. But every time I go back, I was like, wow, like I can do another purchase again without worrying about, like depositing like some amount of new Bitcoin again. Then like keep doing that because the price of Bitcoin keep going up. So that was the first time like I actually feel like, wow, like there's something you can use it for, but obviously like not a legitimate use case. But at the same time, it's like people been talking about, you can do a lot of stuff with Bitcoin, you can program it, you can do whatever with it. But any developer look at it will be like, like it's cool, but the programming like factor of it, it's like you cannot really do anything about it, right? Then I think like 2011, 2012, there was like the Ethereum like white paper came out. Then then you look at it, it's like, wow, this is actually something that you can actually do something on. Right, you can do a lot of stuff. You can create a smart contract. You can do all these things. But obviously, I think the coolest use case back then was like all the ICO stuff. Like I did some ICO here and there. And also the good thing is I was in SF, like San Francisco back then. So I went to like a lot of events. I remember there was like one event that like hosted by Coinbase, like Vitalik was there teaching people how to like do smart contract programming. I was like,
That's pretty cool.
My friend was working at Coinbase back then. Then he was like, yo, you want to come to this thing? Like it's like a small, like intimate thing. It's like 10 to 15 people. I was like, yeah, like who's this Vitalik guy? I know he created like Ethereum. Like maybe it's cool. Maybe I should go. I just told my friend, like, yeah, I put my name on it. One thing I regretted was I remember I was supposed to go to the event, but like this mini class, I think it was like on a weekend. It would be like a whole day event.
This was an early Ethereum event?
Yeah, it's very early. Like it was like 10 people, Vitalik would be there teaching people how to do, smart contracts.
So early Vitalik himself is actually teaching
shit.
things. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Coinbase was very small back then. I think it was like 10, 20 people. Then Vitalik was there teaching people how to do smart contract development. I signed up for the event, but I didn't show up because I think I had something else to do. That's the only thing that I regret not doing. Like back then, I was like, oh shit, I should just go and like pick up, like smart contract programming from like himself, right? But I didn't go. But I did like, end up buying some like Ethereum, Bitcoin, then participating in some of the, all these like ICO and whatnot. The only sad thing is like I didn't make a lot of money from the ICO, but it was fun, like to see how you can actually like send money like on chain without anyone like permission, like to anyone else in the world, right? And no one really complained about gas fee back then because it was pretty cheap. The only thing that people were complaining about is, like when the ICO come alive, everyone was trying to send money into it. Like the network is always congested, so it would like your transaction, it would take forever for the transaction to get through. Yeah, I think that was like around like 2000. Hold on, let me think. I think it was like 2006 or 2000. Like no, 2000. I don't remember exactly. No, not 2000. Like 2016 or 17, something around that time. Yeah. Then no, I went like after that, like after the ICO thing, price going down again. I didn't do anything like programming on chain. Then I went back to work. I think only in the like I'll say only after I came back to Malaysia. So all this while when I was in SF, I was doing all this startup thing. I was like I did YC, like Y Combinator, like 2000. I think it's like 2009. It was a long time ago, like 14 years ago. Yeah. Then after that, I was like I was at a friend company. We started with like just two of us. I think now the company is like 300-400 people. We raised like the first round was like 50. I think it was like 10 million. Then we raised a 50 million round. Then the last round was like 150 million, something like that. I remember exactly how much he raised. I left right around the Series A, which is after we raised the 10 million round. Yeah, my roommate is still running it. So that was like my non-crypto background. Then after I came back to Malaysia, after I left my last job, I came back to Malaysia. I was thinking about like like what should I do, right? Been doing all these startups all this while in SF. So I was like, okay, I need to do something in Malaysia, but I'm not sure what to do. Like I was playing with every single thing. I did some like Solidity, like Ethereum, like contract programming. I mean, it's fun, but the thing is like it's not like fast enough, right? Then around this time, my co-founder, me, like the guy, like did the breakpoint presentation. He was telling me that, yo, you want to check out this thing called Solana? Back then, like if you tell people it's like FTX, SDF is involved in, it's like, oh, like maybe like there's something there, right? Like now it's negative. Now it carries negative connotations, but back then it was like, wow, like
didn't
maybe
age
they know
well.
something. Yeah, maybe they know something that I don't know about, right? So I was like, oh, like, let's check it out. That was very early on. I think it was like late 2020, early 2021. So so my co-founder Ming, he was in the crypto scene. So like we were like, oh, like let's do something on it. So that's how Mercurial started. I'm not sure if you guys remember Mercurial. So the first project we worked on was this protocol called Mercurial. We have since rebranded it to Meteora. So it's the whole idea is that we want to bring curve stable to stable swap, which is actually pretty similar to Saber, onto Solana. So Saber launched around, I think like April. We launched around like June or something like that. Like, back then Saber was like the top that everyone's talking about. We were like trying to catch up and stuff like that. Then
this was in June, right? Or in rather 2020, because mainnet launched in 2020.
I think it's like late.
Or was it 2021?
Yeah, late 2020. Okay. Like late or early 2020. Late 2020. Then people started like deploying new protocols around like early 2021. Yeah, I think Orca came around March, Radiant around the same time as well. Then Saber like April, June. Then we launched around like June or July, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty early on. So I remember like it was only like 4 or 5 protocols on chain, and we are one of them. not many other things. And, you could, like they all swap, like nothing else. I think it's like then Solan is around the same time as well. Yeah. So basically, like it was pretty early on, but it was during like peak bull market as well. Like everyone's doing like crazy TVL. I remember we were doing like we had like 200-300 million TVL. Then but Saber was like next level. Saber was like 4 billion or like something like that. And we were competing as well. So the only thing that we were like, okay, like like obviously we are not like a 4 billion TVL versus like 400 million TVL, be like 10x lower than what they had, right? So we have to figure out something. I said, okay, whether we keep competing on this like stable swap game, or we try to figure out something, right? One thing great at the time was that people were coming to our website because they really liked the fact that like we were, the UI and everything is very simple to swap comparing to like Saber. And back then we also integrate like one feature that we decided to do is that we also integrated Serum on our UI. So the first version of Jupiter is actually it actually live on the Mercurial website. It's a very simple swap, right? It's like you can swap between all the pools that we have. At the same time, we also find tokens that you can swap on Serum as well. So we technically only aggregate between Mercurial and Serum. And people love it, right? People are like, wow, like, like I can find all these tokens on Serum. I can like swap any tokens that I can find on Mercurial as well. There's no like, there's no routing. I mean, it's just simple routing, right? Direct swap. There's like no mix and match between like Mercurial and Serum. But people like the UI. People are like, oh, like can you do more than that, right? I think that was like July or like something like that. We have this UI up. Then we were like, okay, like why don't, since this stable like swap war, like obviously we are losing. Let's do something else, right? So I think around October or November, that's when we started working, like, start thinking about how do we do like a Jupiter, right? How can we do a mix and match routing, like, and all this thing, and like aggregate more like swap sources, right? So I think we started developing the first contract around like September, October. Then the first version came live on November. Even the first version was like pretty simple as well. Like all the routing, there's no contract. I think there's no contract until like December or January. The first version of Jupiter was just like, everything is direct swap, but we will find all the tokens on Orca, Radium, Saber, Mercurial, like I think and Serum as well. Only 5 sources at the beginning. Yeah. Then the contract came alive. Then people start realizing that, oh wow, you can actually go from first swap on Orca, second swap Radium, all in one route. Yeah, that's when people start getting excited, and it was like peak bull market as well. I remember like the first month that we launched, we did like 2 billion volume or something like that. Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, Jupiter is a household name in the Solana ecosystem. Like everybody uses Jupiter. I don't even know anyone that uses anything else other than Jupiter for swaps.
I mean, you'd be surprised. Like I've seen people who come to our Discord that's like, oh, like they're using Radium, like all this. Wow, I didn't know there's like this thing that can just find me the best price. I was like, wow, like
really still? That's
yeah. Like even in the last month or so, yeah.
That's such a cool like organic growth story, right? Is like so we started with a different idea, and actually we didn't keep up, right? Is like it was kind of almost a winner take all situation, and it wasn't you guys, and you found another way to add value to users, which is like we have small pools. Saber has bigger pools. Let's just allow swapping that uses both of these, and then it's like, oh, people like that. Let's do more of that. Let's find more pools that we can allow swaps between, and let's get intelligent routing. And like that's I think even zooming out and having like a meta discussion about how to do product development, how to find product market fit is like that's a perfect case study, right?
Product market fit is like the art of the pivot.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're perfectly right. Like the goal wasn't even to think about this new protocol or new whatever. The goal was to basically like people have been going to Saber to swap, Like, why don't we just tell them, like, dude, there's like this place that you can find the best price so that we can bring some volume back to like Mercurial as well. Like, that was the goal, like, like, because, how all this curve works, right? When curve go a little bit higher, there's always a better venue to get better price. So it's always to bring some volume back to Mercurial. It was never about like, this will be a new protocol to capture the market, like to become like the next like big thing or whatever.
Yeah, and like Nick said, now it's more than the next big thing. It's like you said, household name. So between then and now, it's like what's been the primary focus over the last right like 2 years? Like what obviously we all like Nick said, we all use Jupyter and we know the main things that Jupyter does, but I'm sure there's a ton of engineering that's happened between then and now that we don't see, just because as the ecosystem has grown, you've had to scale your engineering to match.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you a few things, right? Like when we first launched, there's no contract at all. Everything's UI, like direct sort, right? We will find you the best route based on the UI. Like we just say that, you go to Okta, you go to wherever, then like everything can be done like right there. So when the first contract came out, it was a very simple idea as well. Like we will submit different instructions. Like each instruction is one routing, but we will make sure that whatever left over from the first instruction can be used on the second instruction, third instruction, so on. And all the routing engine is in JavaScript on the UI only. So it's because there's not many tokens, we can easily like find all the routes from your browser, then calculate all the best routing from your browser without doing anything on the server at all, right? It was pretty good in the early days until like I think it started breaking like 6 months like down the road or something like that. They were actually like, okay, like people are finding their browser being very slow right now. Like we have to figure out like a way to like not run all this like route finding like engine on the UI. So that's when
what you mean JavaScript is slow? No.
But it was pretty cool. I mean, like I think a few different things as well, right? Like RPC was like it put a lot of heavy load on our RPC.
Oh,
we were paying
I bet.
Yeah, we were paying like 10,000 like a month for RPC. Yeah. So the idea is that like why don't like everyone's looking like pretty similar route, right? Why don't we just have like one server in the back, right? Getting all the data, ingesting all the data at one location instead of like like thousands of users like trying to do the same thing, then downloading like same copy of data on each of their machines to find this route, right? So basically we started moving all the front end routing to the back end routing. So like one routing engine, one RPC. I think we cut our RPC by like, like the bill went from like 10,000 to like 4,000 a month or something like that. Then we can do like all this patching on the back end, find all the path one time. Then when people come, they can just immediately like get the route that they want from the UI. So that was like one big improvement from like the front end routing engine to like the back end routing engine and start serving it from the API. Then after that, like obviously there's like multiple small contract improvement as well. I think the best, like another thing that I can remember is like when Solana released the version transactions. Then we can pack like basically went from like 32 accounts in one transaction to like 64 accounts in one transaction. Then you can like use lookup table and all these things. I remember we were like the first one who were like I think was at one point was like 1,000 lookup table. We are the one who created like half the lookup table on chain because we have to like find all these like AMNs like every single like pair. We have to create a lookup table. So that was another improvement as well. Then the contracts on the contract end, it started from like multiple instructions for each swap. Now it's very simple. One instructions we can do multiple swap. It's actually very cool. It's one thing that we don't actually tell a lot of people about. But you can actually like if you want to do any routing right now on the Jupyter contract, you can just craft the routing yourself. Like if you know how to use it, like without even getting it from the routing engine. You can just say that if you want to write, if you want to like create like a simple like one like A to B to C, right? You can just do like a simple. You just have to crop the data A to B to C, then send it to the Jupyter contract, pass in the right account, then we can process it. You can even do like A to B to C back to A. You know, all the arbitraging bot is doing. You can even do like A fork whatever. Like all these are basically like it's a graph based routing data that you can just pass into a contract, and we will just handle it for you without you knowing like how to figure out whatever left over in between, just send to the next round and next swap, like things like that. Yeah.
Do you know? Sorry, you just mentioned like arbitrage type opportunities, right? Do you know what percentage of users are just kind of like regular retail type of users doing swaps versus folks who are actually, like arbitrage traders?
Yes, in the early day on the UI, when no one was doing it, people could like just go to the UI, on Jupyter, just put USDC first input token, then USDC output token. You can make money from it. I know people who come to me and say, yo, like I used to like just put this as like the pair on Jupyter and just make like a couple $100 a day. Like keep looking for the opportunity, keep looking it. Yeah, and it was really crazy. Then after that, we also released our routing engine as well. If you don't want to host it, if you don't want to use our API, you can use our routing engine. So there are people who use our routing engine to find like arbitraging opportunity as well. I think early days, there are not many people who are very sophisticated and at contract development and stuff like that. I think we were doing like 95% of the arbitraging like volume. Only in the last I think like then start taper off. I would say like a year in, people start getting a lot more sophisticated. They start doing their own contracts instead of using our own contract and stuff like that. Yeah, to be honest, now it's very minor. I think it's like maybe 10% of arbitraging like volume is from us. Then the rest are basically like all this like dedicated person.
I'm sure the competition for that is so intense at this point that it requires some more speciality, I guess.
Our team member used to do it, but like now it's like everyone is so busy, we just don't have the time to run it. But I feel like even with our current so one thing that we did is that so JavaScript backend, then we realized that at one point we realized that we couldn't scale anymore. So I think in the last 6 months, one of the big effort was like we started moving our JavaScript engine to the Rust-based engine. That's a very cool thing as well. So we went from like paying I think it was like $4,000-5,000 a month on the server cost to like now $500 a month. CPU went down a lot. It's amazing. I think our
constant was massive cost reduction as you guys go. I love it.
So P99 was 13-14 seconds. Now it's less than 1 second. I think it's sub 500 milliseconds or something like that. So the experience for the user is amazing right now. It's they don't have to wait and anything like that. And the routing, the routing engine also, not just that, right? It was our JavaScript engine was a very dumb engine. Basically, these are all the routes that you can on Solana. Just find me the best route. It doesn't there's zero optimizations at all. But on the Rust engine, we have this new teammate they joined. I think 6 months ago. He was this PhD in computer science. That was a weird. I studied computer science myself. I was I barely use anything that I learned from college. After I started working with this guy, it was wow, now I realize a PhD in computer science is a lot more useful than what I learned in college. So he started giving us how can we optimize the engine a lot better. And it's a very cool setup as well. Behind the scene, people don't see this, we don't really talk about it, but people don't really see it, how it works and whatnot. Behind the scenes, it's actually very cool. So we have this Rust engine, right? It's handling all the operation, downloading RPC data and all these things, right? Then Melvin is the guy that we come up with the algorithm. he will do all. He's not like, he doesn't know how to write Rust, but he know how to do it in Python. So PA, one of our engineers, basically built like this bridge to bridge into Python. So Melvin can just like write any algorithm that he wants to play with the route engine in Python. So it's basically finding all the, like, we can keep experimenting like in Python to find the best route and whatnot until we are sure, okay, this is the best algorithm. Then we can port all the Python code into Rust to make it faster. So we did the whole experiment. It's very cool, like the whole setup. We did that for about a month. Then we found we still fine tuning the algorithm right now. But like I say, the CPU, I think CPU went down by 10x. Memory requirement went down by 10x. Performance went up at least 10x. Cost went down by 10x as well. We used to host all this JavaScript routing engine on dedicated server that's require the best CPU that our host can provide. But now we just go to the cheapest server that they provide right now. We don't have to pay for the most expensive server anymore. And we can run more servers right now. Yeah.
How I'm curious, how big is the team now?
So the Jupyter team is about 13 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
13 people maintaining so much of the infrastructure that's used by the Solana ecosystem.
Do they also work on Meteora and some of the other stuff you guys have going on, or is they separate teams?
We all share the same office. So technically it's 7 people on Mercurial, then about 13 people on Jupyter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. What, I guess maybe this sounds like a dumb question, but what's the business model of Jupyter? Is it are you taking spreads or direct fees? What's the revenue model?
So when we start, when it started to become a real thing, obviously we have to start thinking about, whether this is a real business or not, right?
Well, like you said, you had crazy RPC costs. So it's you got to think about paying for those.
So when we start, the idea is always simple, right? Jupyter, the routing engine is the main product that people come into Jupyter for to get the traffic and everything. That's a free product to attract users, right? Then we started launching new product as well, right? So we have limit order right now. Limit order, we charge 20 bits on it if you put it in limit order. Then we also have DCA right now. DCA is 10 bits. Then the last thing is Perpetual, which we launched during the breakpoint. Perpetual is basically 10 bits going to the LP. Out of the 10 bits, we take 3 bits, 30% coming into Jupyter. So we have 3 products that's revenue generating right now.
Got it.
Limit order, DCA, and also Perpetual.
I feel like I have to ask, how did you cover costs before the revenue?
So we did a fundraising for not fundraising, we did a token sales for Mercurial. So that's how we have the money to keep running the team. Yeah.
Got it. That's awesome. I mean, I love that. I thought Jupyter was free. That's why that's why I said this may be a dumb question, but I just was trying to feel out how do you keep the lights on, right? I think that's awesome, right? Having sort of this loss leader, if you will, that everyone can use, and then sort of these upsell financial products, limit order, DCA, perpetuals, that sort of thing. That makes a ton of sense. I've used the limit order because it's hey, if something dips, I want in.
I mean, the cool thing is that I was I think someone was sharing this Dune analytic last week. I think last few days was how much fees people are making from. So basically, our partner, if they integrate with Jupyter on their wallet, or for example Birdeye, right? If you go to Birdeye to swap on swap anything, it's actually using Jupyter. You can actually tag the fee on top of it as well. You can just say I want to charge 10 bits, 20 bits, whatever, right? And we take about 10% of those. If someone charging extra fees on Jupyter Swap, we will take 10% of those.
Got it. Then, that's super interesting. So because I know you guys have like SDKs and whatnot, and a lot of people integrate. So it's if people want to charge a fee, you're like, okay, great, we're going to take a portion of that fee. But if there's no fee, then there's no fee for anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
That is beautiful. I love that.
Nick is like, I'm doing this someday. That's awesome.
So
I knew
cool, right?
people could like add in their own fees, but I didn't realize Jupiter as like the protocol or like the team and the company would take a portion of that fee, and that's just like it's perfectly synergistic. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, if you don't charge, we don't charge. If you charge, then we take the portion. Yeah, that's how it is. And the cool thing is that then like someone was sharing this like during an analytic was like, oh, it's like apparently like our partners make like close to like $500,000 last week alone based on these fees. We were like, wow, I didn't know there was like so much fees that people are charging.
That's wild. I feel like, I mean, you just mentioned sort of a token launch for Mercurial back in the day. Now I feel like I got to use that to pivot to Jupiter's token, right? Like token launch airdrop. I've been following it because I'm super excited about it, but I'd love to hear you sort of talk to the listeners a little bit about Jupiter's airdrop and what to expect, you know.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure what to expect. It's it's a 2 years journey, right? People have been like, I think from the beginning, we were thinking about it, like, I think it was like 3 months into like launching Jupiter, like it was during peak bull market, we're doing like easily like I think it's like a couple 100 million volume a day. Like people are like, wow, like this protocol launched like within 3 months doing like a couple 100 million volume like a day. People are asking like, like, are you dropping Jupiter token and stuff like that? Like we didn't do it back then. So it's like I think after 1 year, everyone's like, oh yeah, I don't think they're launching like any token at all. And people think that we were printing money as well. Like, they are like, they're doing so much volume. I'm pretty sure they're charging all these fees on the UI, but like, like anyone who use it, they would know that it's a free product. Like we don't charge anything on the stock product. Then I think it's like after 2 years like of not saying that we will have a token, everyone's like, oh yeah, they're not launching any token at all. They're like, it's going to be like this like project and whatever. Then but in our plan, like token is always part of it. It's just that we don't have any clear picture on like when to do it and how to do it, right? I mean, we're pretty lucky as well. Yeah.
What changed, right? Because like you said you didn't have a clear picture of when and how, but now, right? It's like you announced it at Breakpoint. So I'm curious, like what was the trigger moment?
It's actually very like crazy as well. Like so we have the limit order, we have the DCA back then, but our burn rate is like I think it's like 200K a month. But even with these two products, we can cover half of it. Sometimes actually like a full amount of our burn rate. So we're like sometimes break even, sometimes not really break even. So we're like, okay, like if you want to make this thing bigger, we have to start hiring, get more people to be like on Solana and whatnot. We're like, I think that one of the main primary focus is that we need to start thinking about fundraising as well. But for Mercurial, we went down the route, like raising from FTX, Alameda, like people who are like all the who and who in the Solana ecosystem. But for Jupiter, like we realized that it's like we want to get rid of all this like bad connotation, like with all the Solana projects, right? It's like high flow, like low flow, like high FTV and all these things. Like we have like, then we look at our users like, wow, we have close to 1 million users. Like we can actually do something that's different, right? Like do a massive airdrop to all these past users. Like not like 1% of our supply. We want to do like 40% of supply going to like the community, right? Then maybe we'll do like 10-20% of our supply on like a token sales as well to fundraise for projects we want to do moving forward, right? But we were lucky, like so basically we have all this plan, like Breakpoint coming up. We just like, oh, like why don't we just announce it at Breakpoint? Like 40% airdrop, 30% token sales, then 40% will come into the reserve. Then we can plan about what can we do with the reserve and stuff like that. But we were pretty lucky as well, right? Like like timing was like, okay when we decided it. I think it was like June or July. We was like, okay, like we need to announce this of Breakpoint. Like we need to start thinking about what to do. Then we have like all this pitch ready. Then like, I think it was like 2 weeks before Bitcoin, the Solana price was like going up. It's like, I think it was like $20, then like $30, then $40. I think
everything
Bitcoin
went
was like
crazy
60.
there for a bit.
And one thing is like you guys weren't there. Like the excitement there was like next level. I was like, fuck.
I can imagine. I was losing my mind at home, so I can only imagine that a bunch of degens all together in the same space.
Like everyone was
just
like, wow,
spiraling
like,
off each other in person. They're just like, oh yeah.
I think it was like I think before Bitcoin started was like $30. I was like, fuck man, it's like went up like 50%, like over like whatever. Then like during Bitcoin it was like 10% every day, like 10% every day. I think like towards the end of Bitcoin it was like $60 to $70 something. I remember it's like then at the point we announced like Jupiter, right? Like then I can tell you like the traffic, like our traffic like just went crazy. The price went up. Everyone started paying attention for about all the projects of Solana. I remember like we were doing about 10,000 like unique a day. During Bitcoin, we were doing like 50,000 unique a day. So we launched our perpetual on the day that we announced it and announced our token plan on Bitcoin. On day one, I think we did about 60 million on our perpetual. Like we went from like, like other competitors in the market was like Mango, Zeta, Drift. We went from like all these competitors owning like 100% of the market to us like owning 70% of the market in a day, right? In volume. I was like, wow, like people are paying attention to what we do. Like I was like pretty surprised as well. Then our revenue went from like suddenly all other projects has like 10x more volume as well. So now we are actually like we break even now, even from the fees that we are making. We can actually like do a lot more stuff right now. I think we're like, I don't look at the numbers. I think like every month we're doing like 800,000, like maybe to 1 million in revenue. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's wild.
That's way cool. Congrats.
Yeah. No. I was like, but like, I mean, like the traffic went out is like one thing, but like everything is like breaking, Now we have to pay back the 10,000. Like now we have to pay 10,000.
For like, it's the services and the products are doing great, but like, the scale, it's the servers are struggling. Like I have to deal with that now.
I
get it. I get it.
People are mad at us as well.
Oh, why, they're mad at you? Well, I was just gonna say, like, I'm gonna do a shameless plug for your co-founder for Meow's Breakpoint talk. Like, it's posted on YouTube, and we'll link it in the show notes. Like, it was a phenomenal talk for one. Like, he's a showman on stage, and it was great. And then the way that he's like teasing out the details of the airdrop, the token launch, and everything, it was super great. And it was also especially great because, I mean, you already touched on it. It's like a lot of tokens, they're like, oh, we'll give 1% to the community. Like, all right, like this is obviously not really for the community. It's so you can make a bunch of money, fine. But like the way that you guys are going about this token airdrop or token launch, like whatever you want to call it, is, and it's all super public. It was, I think even Meow announced it on stage of like, we're going to go through many months of, we're going to give proposals, we're going to have conversations with the community, and we're all going to come to an agreement of like what this should look like for the community by the community. And like, that is, again, just another beautiful thing that you guys do. It's amazing.
I mean, it's actually pretty interesting as well. When we tell people that we're going to do that, everyone's like, yo, can you please not do that? Like, everyone will start yelling at you guys. Like, like everyone's trying to fight for their own allocation and stuff like that. But I think for now, like after went through all this like process, obviously people like everyone is in there for their own interest, right? They always like fight for their own like portion and whatever. But at the same time, I think personally it's a very fun, interesting process as well. Like community trying to like contribute their own like opinions and whatnot. I feel like
hard thing to accept.
I think the new plan, everyone seems to be pretty happy about it. Obviously, there are some people who will be like, oh, like it's like it's not what I expect. But I feel like we make 99% of the people happy. the 1% people is like, they probably will never be happy anyway.
It's always going to be an edge case.
Yeah, exactly. But the good thing is that this is only the first 10%, right? There's still 30% airdrop coming like in the future. So it'll be another 10%, another 10%, another 10% again. So like, if they are not happy in the first 10%, there are like other things that we can do with the rest of the 30% of the tokens.
Yeah. What probably one of the things that makes tokens like crypto so difficult to regulate is that not all tokens are created equal, right? Like they all do different things and serve a different purpose. I would love to hear you talk about like what is the goal with the token for Jupiter, right? Like what is the primary thing that it should accomplish for the protocol, for the community, for you?
So I think a few different things, right? It's a governance token. It will basically govern like all the fees that we are charging right now, or we are not charging right now. But it would suck to start seeing the community to charge fees on the swap, which is like but that's the thing, the downside of like having a token, right? It won't be in our control anymore, right? Like the community can decide to start charging on like anything, or like change the fees on anything. So that's one thing, right? Other than that, I feel like the most exciting part about a token is to make people feel like there's a community right there. Like before that was just like a Discord, people are just like, in Discord talking about things. And most of the time just like support requests, People do a swap, not seeing the token in their wallet or whatever, like things like that. But now people are talking about, different things that we can do right now. So one of the things that we announced is that, other than the perpetual, we also announced that we might do a stable token, a stable coin as well. And also Jupiter Start, right? Like now we have all this community, like member in the group, like talking about, what's Jupiter Start? Like how can we use our platform to help other projects to launch as well, right? Like we have like so many Solana users coming to our website every day, right? If there's an opportunity for us to highlight some other project across the whole Solana ecosystem, that'll be amazing as well, right? But one thing that we also don't know is like what does it mean to us, right? What's Jupiter Start? What's this new like stable token is about? But the cool thing right now is that we can put out a white paper, like a similar like one paragraph like idea on how this idea is going to be. But like community member will start contributing right now. Like they will say, how Jupiter Start should be, like how it should be, how it should be done, like how it should look like. It's very different dynamic right now. Before that was mostly support, like people lose their token or like wallet get hacked or this thing. Like now it's like, they will start contributing new ideas, like this should be like, this should be a way, this can be done this way. I think it's very different. Like the dynamic is very different right now. People feel like they are part of it. Instead of like before that was like, you are you, we are just like a user on this platform. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like launch a token or even just talk about launching a token and you get ideas from the community that you wouldn't otherwise get. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like the difference between, having people just fill out a feedback form and you're maybe giving something at the end and so they just like click the same button over and over just to submit the form and get something from it versus them really feeling invested and like wanting to work with you and give real, honest, valuable feedback. And that, I don't know, that is pretty cool. And again, I think part of my reason for asking about it is if there's one, I shouldn't say if there's one thing, because there's a lot of things I think I want to raise awareness about. But I think for sort of non-crypto users, one of the big things I want to raise awareness about is that like tokens are an incredibly powerful tool, right? It's not just about like pump it and make some money. Yeah. I'm not saying people don't do that, because absolutely people do that. Everyone wants to make money, but like having tokens to sort of incentivize the behavior that makes the most sense in your community is kind of a really cool thing. And then on the flip side, right, since we're talking about governance, having a token so that the community can sort of govern the protocol is also, I think, phenomenal.
Yeah, 100% agree.
I mean, it's a yeah. I think the transition from us being like us, like 20 people, 15 people. Now we're going to get like like a million. If they don't sell, it's going to be like a million user plus like 15 people.
Damn, that's how many people.
Yeah, like 905.
That's so many people.
I think in the first round of the airdrop, it's going to be 955,000 users. Yeah,
that is so cool.
We gotta get it to across 1 million. We can do this together.
Oh yeah,
the snapshot's already taken, Nick.
Yeah, we have more than 1 million. We have more than 1 million users right now. But that's like it's insane. I can tell it's insane. And one thing that's very cool to see is also like all these old Solana users are coming back right now. Like they are like I use it before 2000. Like 22. Like I never touched it the whole year of 2023. Right now they're coming back. They're like using it. They realize things are a lot faster. Like stable. Like all these things. Like it's amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What I mean, we
should bring Mel next time. Like if we do this call. I think it's like somewhere, I don't know where it is right now.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. We'd love to
always
do another one and chat with everyone. Yeah. We're getting like kind of close on time. I want to make sure that you get to, tell the listeners whatever it is that you want to tell them, right? Whether that's, more information about the airdrop, whether it's more information about future products, what is there anything you wanted to shill before we wrap the call?
I don't think anything I want to shill right now, but yeah, like like try out the products. Like I'm actually like I'm an engineer. But I spend most of my time in the Discord, like doing a lot of feedback and stuff like that. Yeah, so always good to hear user feedback and things on things that we can improve on. I think that's very important. Yeah, like basically my time right now is mostly on like stability and performance, which is like like when you go from like I think it was like 4x or 5x more like volume because of like the Solana like the attention Solana is getting right now and all these things. I mean, it's amazing. I'm not complaining, but at the same time, I'm also complaining.
It's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem, right? It's still a problem. And I think most of our listeners understand. I think a lot of our listeners are devs. If you're not a dev and you're listening, don't leave because I said most of our listeners are devs. We want everyone here. But a lot of our listeners are engineers, and so they understand what you're saying, right? You double the load, and sometimes that makes things 10 times more complicated, right? It's not like a linear problem necessarily. And so like I think a lot of us understand that they're like, oh yeah, the interest that Solana is getting right now means a hell of a lot of work for teams like
and
yours.
The crazy thing is that things that are working fine, like now it's like started breaking as well. I remember like during like the Meow presentation at Breakpoint, we have all this website live, like just one click to go live. Then Cloudflare went down. I was like, what the fuck?
Cloudflare did go down for Breakpoint.
I was like, seriously, like that's like the old, like we basically just need one click to get the website up. But like after the presentation, we couldn't get the new website up.
When distributed Cloudflare, right?
Exactly.
When decentralized Cloudflare.
It's like no one seriously, no one in our team expected it to go down. Like Cloudflare.
I mean, all I'm saying, Cloudflare is starting to have a lot of outages.
Well, awesome, man. This is Nick. Was there anything else we kind of wanted to like dig into?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Actually, I have one random question for you. What's up with the raccoons? So like you guys have like, I think the company like actual entity name is something to do with raccoons. Like you guys have something with raccoons. Like what's the deal with that?
To be honest, it's like we like animals. We like cute animals. So like cats, raccoons, like all these are like the idea behind it. But if you ask like why, like it's just it's very easy decision. We're like, okay, we need a name for the entity. Like what should we do? Like cats. But everyone do cats, right?
I like it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
All right.
Well, Siong,
perfect,
it was
perfect
great
note to end it.
Yeah, no, it was so great chatting with you. you're like so pleasant to hang out with. And I'm not gonna lie, that's mostly what I want this show to be, is like, we're just gonna hang out and
100%.
chat about fun Solana stuff. So thanks for being so fun. It was so great to meet you.
Good to meet you guys as well.
I am looking forward to the airdrop so much, and I think all of our listeners are. So, and I use your product almost every day. So
yeah, I mean, let us know like any feedback or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll let you know for sure, but I and to the listeners, right? You heard it. It's like jump into Discord. Siong's there, answering questions, getting feedback. So
bullish on devs that take the feedback to use the feedback. Like
yes,
Siong over here crushing it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, awesome, man. Well, I would love to do this again sometime. There's always more to chat about
as well. Maybe after the token drop or something like that. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I would love that. Cool, man. Well, to the listeners, we will see you all next time. And go use Jupiter. Get that airdrop.
Bye.